Hey guys, Josh Hankin here, back for another DVRT vlog. What I want to do today is discuss single leg deadlifts. Now that may sound so ordinary, like, oh, I know single leg deadlifts, they're awesome. You know, if you're like me, I thought single leg deadlifts were great, but they were great for stability training, right? It was fulfilling that bucket I thought, oh, what we had to do for stability work. And if you're like me too, when you coach people, you found teaching single leg deadlifts very challenging to actually get people successful upon unless they were innately strong and stable to begin with. Now, first off, let's talk about the fact that, again, like me, I made all the mistakes in the world as a young coach, that I thought single leg deadlifts were great, but not when it came to really training much muscle or training much strength. But what we're finding out now through research that you guys can see is that both they were great for lots of muscle activation, even more so than we can often find in a bilateral deadlift, which makes people upset that love their bilateral deadlifts, but also in producing great strength. So again, it's one of those things where we can accomplish so many goals at once if we're open-minded enough to using these exercises. Now, with that in mind, okay, but how do I get someone successful at single leg deadlift? And that's really what I wanted to make a post about, because again, I can tell you all the benefits of a single leg deadlift in it being multi-planar, into gaining stability in the lower leg and foot, which helps connection to the glutes and preventing low back issues and so forth. But the ultimate issue is, can you get people to do them well? And so often I see people, they default to what I did in the past as well, is have people hold on to something as they do a single leg deadlift. Now, that kind of makes sense in people's minds. That's what you should be doing. However, the issue becomes that's artificial stability. And so what we don't consider when we do that with clients is that we're not actually teaching their nervous system to learn how to coordinate the movement when they are not artificially supported. We all know the body behaves differently when you give it something of artificial stability versus asking it to do it on its own. A great example would be if I try to do a bodyweight squat and you see a poor bodyweight squat, and then you ask me to hold on to something, I can then squat. Well, see, that totally changes the dynamics of the pattern, because when I'm artificially supported, my body can turn off a lot of the brakes. I can then figure out how to coordinate my body a lot easier because I don't have to reproduce that with the needs of stability and strength and mobility all on my own. I'm using something else to assist me. Now, there will be some out there go, okay, Josh, that makes sense, but doesn't that lead to a good progression? Can I progress off that? Well, if you tried the strategy of having people hold on to something and then get off of using something, you know it's actually a very difficult leap to make, because the nervous system and the body overall, the muscles and so forth, have never learned how to coordinate that movement by itself. So often it's not a great progression because, again, it doesn't lead to more success and people learn to do it on their own. And then we'll see people do, well, hey, can I use a landmine deadlift? Isn't a landmine single leg deadlift a really great progression? And again, the same issue. You're getting artificial stability. I can create stability by the use of the implement, that I'm holding on to something that helps balance me out. So what the actual smarter way of doing this, and the way you make people more successful, is using two simple DVRT concepts that we use all the time with people, which is body position and holding position. So what we can do is we can manipulate those two variables to add more progression and get people successful. So for example, in body position, we can incrementally put you in an unstable environment. So again, the research shows when you are too unstable, that's where we have reductions in strength and we can't activate the right muscles and so forth, because we're so worried about like falling over that our body can't function as we want or teach the concepts of movement that we are trying to provide our clients. Instead, what we find is more moderate levels of instability are ways that we can make those jumps, to higher levels of functional fitness. So, we can use our sprinter stance. We go rear stepping. We can even change planes of motion by going frontal, transverse planes, and so forth, in order to build up that ability to handle single leg deadlift. Because one of the biggest challenges of single leg deadlift is being on single leg isn't just you need to produce more force, it's you need to resist the other planes of motion to a higher degree. So some of this high level muscle activity we're seeing is a simple fact that our body is learning to produce and resist force at the same time. which is what we would see during running, walking, and other locomotive activities, or things that our body's actually designed to do. That's why the single leg deadlift is such an important exercise to build success upon in people's training. And then holding position allows us to stress things like, get better core and lat engagement. So a lot of times people don't understand one of the big reasons that we use Ultimate Sandbag with our hip hinge progressions is that we can pull the handles apart in a neutral grip position, which engages those lats, and the lats are a huge core stabilizer. I know we all think about them when we're doing pull downs or pull ups or rows that we're getting the lats and we're gonna get that nice V shape. But a bigger factor when you look at the design of the lats is a core stabilizer. So when we engage the lats, and we can do so more easily in a neutral grip, we get those lats kicked in, we get the core more engaged, we have a better plank that's going to give us stability. And we know from science, when we have proximal stability, we get better distal mobility, but also strength. So these things are very important when we're understanding why we're doing certain cues. And when we change into a front hold position, we're now challenging that lat and core engagement to a higher level. And when we actively pull apart the USB, we're getting that core stability once again at a higher level. So again, we're challenging the movement at these different levels. So now when you combine body position, load position, and even the different planes of motion as we talked about, now we have so many ways to progress people in their single leg deadlifts that by the time, and it takes time to get people proficient at a single leg deadlift, they're actually going to gain all the benefits out of the movement. What a lot of coaches make the mistake about, and again, I'll raise my hand, did it as well, is we make leaps of instability that we wouldn't make with weight or repetitions. Imagine, and this is an example I always give, if I asked you to squat 100 pounds, but then I said on the next set we're going to squat 500 pounds. That sounds like a ridiculous jump in weight. If I said we're going to do 10 reps and then we're going to do 1,000 reps, that sounds like a ridiculous jump in weight and repetitions, but that's what we do to instability to people all the time without knowing it. And that's why we have so many layers of progression in our DVRT system. So you may leapfrog some of these progressions. You may find that people are very good at certain ones, but then they struggle at others. But at least you have direction to where to go with your training rather than trying to find a mystical exercise that you didn't know about or a mystical program that you think is going to solve all your needs, when in reality, you just need to have more awareness to the incremental progressions that are going to provide success to your clients. So, I'm providing you guys some examples throughout this video, but also check some of the videos below to see how we use these in a very practical manner and why they're so important in building success with your clients.